Hey folks, it is Vince the Evil DM back with another episode of Railguns and Dragons. Today we're going to be focusing on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original edition versus the revised edition. It took me a little while to get this together because I actually had to scan the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles books in to do this to get it done. The original copies are right here in my hands. As you can see, here's the original book, and here's the revised that I have. Now, the first thing you can do when you're looking in a store for these books or looking anywhere online for these books is to figure out how to get the original edition versus the revised edition. The original edition has the black type font Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a different font than we're used to. And it does not have the revised edition like the one on the right has. The one on the left is the original. The one on the right is the revised, as you can see right here. Again, on this one, there is no revised whatsoever. Eric's name is a little bit further down. On the original one, the typesetting is obviously different, but that's the major differences right off the bat. Side by side or back cover wise, which we'll get to, look like that, there's no difference. On a shelf, there is literally no difference on a shelf. This type font setting stuff is exactly the same. Palladium books. In fact, yeah, there is a slight difference of how it's set, but if you're looking at it like this, you really won't notice a difference. You'd have to actually pull out the book itself to determine the difference. Now, getting on to what is different is here is our presenting pages. This is definitely, it says revised edition here, compatible with. This is the original one from 85 before the compatible with stuff really started. They had their own individual books, Turtles being one of their first things that they were doing. So then we get our dedication pages like we normally see with our printing information. You can see right away the type font is different in these books compared to the newer ones. Now, next thing we get our kind of credits page. Similar again, but you notice that it's now Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Other Strangers, but now it's Palladium Books presents Eastman and Liard's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangers Revised Edition, written by Eric Wujcik. And then we have our normal editors. We see the typesetting is just different in this. That's really the only thing, but this will indicate the difference of the books if you're looking inside or the cover happens to be ripped, which would be really sad to see. Here is our table of contents. See the different typesetting, type font pretty much they used back then. Different way of labeling it. I'm pretty sure the original edition, much like books back then in 85, were probably done typesetting and then pasted and put together. Not sure exactly. They probably had the print presses with the actual typesetting fonts on them that look like I've taken print shop back in middle school, way back in the 80s. So I remember having to deal with that type of thing. But that's the major difference. Now, what is majorly different about these two books is, one, we get this giant splash page here, obviously with the smaller table of contents, but character creation steps slightly different here, a little bit more talked about here, but the one thing, and here's our introduction page, the same usual stuff you're used to seeing, but the one thing that is absolutely different, and I will get to that, I'll stop scrolling, I'll get to it right away for you, is this page right here, Insanity. Insanity was completely removed from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book when it became revised due to the backlash at the time from the parents. And why, do you ask? Because it is in future books, Insanity, Neurosis, and Palladium books. It is in there. Yeah, it is. But there is one thing that is not in there that all the other ones have. I mean, that the original ones have, and that is this basic disorder and neurosis area here. Fear of the dark. Yeah, that's there. Fear of animals. Sure. Cannot tell the truth. Fine. Sexual deviation roles. And all this was like not cool when it came to the parents seeing this, you know, homosexuality, fetishism, pedophilia, transvite, exhibitionism, sadism, masochism, necrophilia, anti-sex, nymphomania. Wow, I can't talk today. Voyeurism, things like that, all were removed. And when this was produced, and I believe Kevin said it in interviews in the past, that they basically took things from the 1955 book of mental disorders. And it wasn't meant to insult anybody, but back then that was, I think, the most up-to-date thing that they had. Funny that it's in the 80s and they're looking at a book from the 50s, but that's what he used as a reference guide for here. Now, all these pages were completely removed from here, even though some of it really wasn't a big deal, but I mean, drunk and drugs and things like that. And at the time that it got removed and revised, I'm guessing that they were worried about their image and something like that. And like, I think the cartoon started again as well. So more kids were getting into looking at this, which also killed the sales of this game because of the cartoon. Because the comic book is a completely different tone than the cartoon. There was blood, guts, maiming, things like that in the cartoon and the comic books. And it was a brutal comic book, as opposed to the cartoon. Yeah, pizza, man, bowabunga, things like that. And it never actually hurt anything. But yeah, and another thing that's completely different, and let's see, it's on page 18 of this book, so we'll go to 18 for now, is education and skills. Education and skills in the original book were collegiate skills, high school skills, military, and secondary skills. In additions going forward, education were scholastic skills, secondary skills, and they were broken up into programs. This one gave you a little bit more of an option. Whoa, I can't do that. But as you can see here, the educational skills, they have the little symbols next to it, how you can pick things. Now, if you have this book and you probably played from this edition, you understand. If not, then it doesn't really matter because they cleaned it up when going forward for picking and choosing skills. We grew up playing this and didn't have a problem playing this edition as this is right here. And you can see how it's broken down. Obviously, the typeset is a little bit different in these books. I'll stop scrolling. It'll be easier just to do this. But yeah. Hand-to-hand combat. See, the page number count for each of these books is off by 1. And the only major difference, and the artwork's all the same, it just moved around slightly from top to bottom to left to right as they reset and typeset things to fit it in. In the newer edition, you got a character sheet and a bio worksheet for the animals, and then you got an advertisement page towards the end. See, you got this towards the end, and towards the end of this, we get our characters, obviously, but we only get to the end, and we get a blank page, which was common because of page count and how things worked. And then we got our back cover, which looked exactly the same. So those are the major differences in here. I mean, the artwork is pretty much the same. There's little bits of little tiny pieces of artwork that they did not put in, but as you can see as I'm going through some of these pages, they kept most of the artwork you're familiar with. There may be some artwork that didn't make it into due to the way the bigger type font came out, but I would have to actually give it a really close look to see if it's, I think, the original splash page artwork, which was right over here on page 3, 4. I think this might be missing. I don't remember seeing that, but again, it's a piece of artwork I really never paid attention to when looking at the book. Did they just move it? See, I don't see it anywhere. So this might be the only artwork that they removed from this book. And I'm going through this normal book just to see real quick. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. They may have moved it somewhere and I'm not recognizing it. But this is a piece of artwork that's pretty much different. Everything else, as far as pages and layout, is pretty much the same. The way education is handled is just different. Minorly different, broken down differently, which they changed going forward to make it a little bit easier. Combat's also the same. Numbers are pretty much all the same. Typeset is the only difference. They made it look cleaner with the newer editions. So that's the books side by side. Have you played the original edition out there? Do you have the original edition? Tell me what you think about the original edition. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Would you play the original versus the revised? Or would you play the revised because it's better? Me personally, I like the original edition, and that's the one I would play when I was going to run Turtles. I would definitely play the one on the left as opposed to the one on the right. Preference. I also have a basic original edition of Heroes Unlimited. It's the same thing, same instances pretty much. Typeset, font, things like that. The insanity tables, the education, the only thing that's different. I think I have an original Robotech somewhere. I have to look around. That might be different. But that's the only original ones I have. I don't have the original fantasy book, which I'm annoyed that I thought I had it somewhere. I do not. I have a revised edition. I'd love to get my hands on an original fantasy just to see the differences. I think the only differences is the insanity stuff and the layout and pretty much where they move things around. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you do, like the video, comment below. Tell me your reactions to Turtles and how you've played it over the years. Tell me if you want to see more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff on the channel. I will gladly cover it. I do have all the books as far as the supplements and everything like that for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and After the Bomb. Though I'd rather play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles instead of After the Bomb. I may suggest that if you are playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that if you have the After the Bomb supplement, not the RPG it turned into, it's an excellent setting for your characters to get involved in the whole post-apocalyptic world and how things turned out and why everyone became mutants. And then there's a whole area in there of humanity first, which gives you colors of the future to come for the Coalition, because you could definitely see the examples in there and how it relates to what they used in riffs for the Coalition. Oh boy, you can. So they already had their idea for the Coalition back then. So it was interesting to see. So tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. And keep it original, keep it old school, and God bless everybody. Good night.
Don't ever laugh as the hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die. They wrap you up